In the show alone, we had a salamander walking down the steps, and he morphs into a man. You had to do this in a couple of sections. Here we have the salamander model, does a dummy. I mean, well, not a dummy, he was an actor, but he was in a salamander suit, and we let him disappear from the frame. Now the camera follows, this is the other side of the shot, and picks up our actor as he comes up and steps in the shot. So the trick now is to get from one shot to the other. Well, of course, you're going to have to shoot a matte because everything we do has a matte, and sort of a early version of a CGI salamander. Can't see it real well, but here's a sort of a rough animated version of salamander. We took what was originally an actor in a salamander suit and created a CG version and start to marry it with the other side. The question is, how much of the tail do we want to see? We don't want him to leave the shot completely. We want to try to morph it smoothly. So here it's starting to look a little better, and there we've kind of got the tracking on it. So we almost buy that he's morphing into it. And by the time it gets in its final version, it looks pretty smooth. It looks like Salamander Boy turns into Herman Steitz, as it were. There he is. We can still see him in the frame, so we're buying it. And there he becomes the man.
Mr. Steitz!
Wipe that stuff off your face. Thank you. In Empedocles, this man is inhabited by fire, and it comes through periodically. So we put this mask on him. You see little slits, which are going to interplay, which you'll see, and he rips the mask off, showing a little green behind him. And of course, we all know by now that green is the magic color, green or blue, for a chroma key, putting some effects in there. We needed to cut a matte, of course, for the openings, because we're going to put some lava behind there. This is, you can see the kind of a weird negative image. We took various forms of fire, just as an example, and threw some contrast in front to create something that looked like lava. Here we did sort of a mini composite, so you can kind of see what a rough effect might be when you throw the matte over that. Now here we did a little, watch the way that it fades. You see how we started with the skin, we kind of painted over the skin and then revealed the mask. The mask, as you know by now, was what we started with those little slits in it. So for this effect, we actually filled in the slits and then let them appear. We took some fire effects and kind of drifted them in. So slowly we start to see little bits of fire peeking out from between the lines on his face. And as he starts to pull his face off, ultimately we'll have a full lava effect back there. There you can see a little experiment. That looks kind of like embers. It's starting to take shape. And finally, he's looking in the mirror and watch the way his skin sort of morphs as the lines appear and the little bits of fire showing behind. And as he pulls his skin off, he's got fire for brains. This is a great little piece where the vertebra is spinning on the on the table. That was kind of a rough version that we did an editorial with a prop. This is the just the background plate that we shot with the holes. This was kind of a motion control shot, so we would be able to match, set the prop up, lit it so the shadows are interacting appropriately with the lighting. As the camera moves around, you get a good idea of how things play. Then we had a bigger version. This is what it's going to start morphing into. We tried spinning it practically, but it just doesn't work. It's hard to control it. So the election was to do it all computer generated. So we did a very rough version of what a spinning vertebra might look like. I mean, here, of course, it's just floating in the ether. But we set it over this moving background to see how it's going to relate to it. Very rough, but it's sort of modeled after the prop that we had. Little spinning version with a holdout mat. You can still get the idea of how that's working. I like that sort of motion blur. Here I put a little blood on it so it looks kind of cool, because these things don't just come out of the body clean. I like the little, nicks in it where it kind of moves a tiny bit. What is this? You get 3 seconds to guess. 1. That's right. This is for the shadow. This is the reflection. See, that's going to be the reflection, which will actually make this shot look real. Because without this, it just looks like a flat vertebra spinning. So make sure you look to see how the reflection works, because I think that's really key to this whole effect working. Isn't that cool? This is a computer generated, modeled after the prop. Complete with accurate reflection. In salvage, we had a guy that had to stop a car by himself because he was made of metal. So we put him against green screen. Watch the interaction of the light and the wind. That is something we're doing, obviously, with the lighting setup and fans. And we did it at different speeds. Now, we cut a matte of this guy, and we shot some glass and smoke coming out for the impact from the vehicle. And we shot a vehicle into a post like that from several different angles. This is into a green post, which will be replaced by the man, just like this. These are some roughs on it. And in a down shot, we had all these different angles. And you can see one has the post, one has the guy. The car, of course, was shot as a separate element. And when we put it all together, looks like the man is stopping the car. And it's kind of effective, I think. I love the interaction on his body with the wind. See the way the shirt blows back? I thought that was kind of cool.